everyone! Welcome to Unsolicited Film Reviews. I'm Zack Miller, he's Martin Cook, and we're talking about the best musicals ever put on film. Put on your best jazz hands. Much to Martin's chagrin, but more on that later. First up, the box office report for the week. Take it away, Martin.
Yeah, sure. So it wasn't a great weekend at the box office. We thought we were coming out of the doldrums a little bit, but the top two movies were new releases. Now You See Me, Now You Don't coming in first place, but it only had a 21 million opening weekend. It's made about 80 million now so far worldwide. And that's lower opening weekend than both the first two movies in that series. And it's also on a $90 million budget. So not great. Even worse, though, was a sequel that I don't think anybody, or a remake that I don't think anybody called for. And that was the Glenn Powell, the Running Man,
Uh,
which only made 16.5 million, and it's only made 31.5 million worldwide. And that's on a $110 million budget. So that's almost certainly going to lose significant money and be a major flop. So yeah, just stop remaking movies that don't need to be remade. Third place, we got Predator Badlands in its second weekend. It's now up to about 140 million worldwide. It pulled in 12 and a half this weekend. Fourth place and fifth place are two movies that are bucking the trend of those first two. They're doing pretty well. Regretting You, not the kind of movie that you think that makes a lot of money, but it's now in its fourth weekend, another 3.5 million. It's now made 83 million worldwide on a $25 million budget. So, pretty solid. And Black Phone 2. I mean, horror movies always make money, but it pulled in another 2.5 million in its fifth weekend, and it's now made over 128 million on a $30 million budget. So it's
hmm.
done really well. So yeah, these smaller budget movies are doing pretty well. It's the big ones where there's been some pretty unfortunate swings and misses lately.
Yeah. Glenn Powell is so hit and miss.
Yeah. Well, I actually don't think that's his fault. Although, well, he
No.
clearly miscast. But I think just it was a completely unnecessary remake.
And honestly, I think that was mismarketed because I truly thought that was going to be out only on streaming. I didn't see any like theatrical advertisements for it. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
all
But
right,
when Total Recall's remake didn't do much a couple of years ago, you'd think studios would have gotten the hint. But,
yeah, and they make
oh
like
well.
87 Terminators.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week we have a very impressive five wide releases. First off, we have Wicked for Good. It's the second half of the smash hit from last year, and the reason we're doing this podcast this week on
Exactly.
musicals. But hopefully, we'll be done with the Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo cringe press tours for good. Then up, we have Zootopia 2, which is actually coming out this following Tuesday. So it's kind of a you're not gonna be able to watch it this weekend, but it will be within this week. So don't yell at us if you can't go see Zootopia this weekend. Then we have Sisu, Road to Revenge. It's the sequel to 2022's Sisu, but instead of killing Nazis, he's killing Russian commies. So he's running the gamut of all the most hated villains of the 20th century. Then we have Rental Family. It's a Brendan Fraser dramedy where he's standing in for Japanese family members. Looks kind of quirky and interesting. And last, we have Eternity. It's a rom com with Elizabeth Olsen, Miles Teller, and Callum Turner, where she has to choose between two guys who she's going to spend the rest of eternity in heaven with, which is quite a larger commitment than just a regular marriage.
Damn. Yeah, yikes.
So, to be fair to you, Martin, you did put this topic forth, but
I did.
let's address the elephant in the room right away. Why do you hate musicals?
Okay, so it's not that I hate musicals. I just don't like a lot of them. But we're talking about, some of the best musicals. So all of these ones are good that we're going to be talking about. I just think that in general, uh, they're too, I can't suspend my disbelief enough So
Mm,
musicals where there's a very good reason why people are singing. So it's about the movie is about a band or singer or about music in general. That totally makes sense to me. Those can be fine. Other musicals where the music is woven into the story, that also makes sense. Those work for me. It's the ones where people are just going about their daily lives and then all of a sudden start singing that I just can't get behind. I don't know. It just throws me off every time and takes me out of the movie. But these are all good movies and good musicals we're going to be talking about today.
that's funny coming from a guy that enjoys pro wrestling as far as suspension of disbelief goes.
Yeah, but that's comedy. I think some of
Well,
these musicals take themselves too seriously.
okay. Yeah, see, I just love a good romp. So I can easily suspend disbelief, and I don't take it too seriously, but we just had to get to the heart of that because that's been one of our big contentious topics just in private
Yes.
conversation over the last whatever how many years we've known each other.
Yeah, it is always
Just-
surprising because I love movies, obviously, and I love music, but somehow,
but
sometimes
yeah.
when you put those things together, it doesn't quite work for me.
All right, so let's just get right into it then. Now, one of my favorite, actually, my favorite musical of all time happens to be Across the Universe, which is just a full-on acid trip of a movie filled with Beatles covers. And a few people very close to me would be pissed if I didn't at least mention that. Anyway, never fear because we're talking about the actual Beatles and
Yeah.
go.
And frankly, you just forgot when we were making the list of it across the universe, or
Yes.
didn't maybe think that it qualified. But yes, we could maybe have talked about that movie, and I had kind of forgotten about it as well. But yeah, we actually are going to talk about 11 movies aside from that one, and the first one we're going to talk about is A Hard Day's Night. So this is a 1964 musical comedy starring and about the Beatles. It was directed by Richard Lester, who also directed Help and later on two of the early Superman films, Superman 2 and Superman 3. And it was written by a guy named Alan Owen. Now, this was a critical and commercial success. It was even nominated for two Oscars, including Best Screenplay. It made, some of these older movies, the budgets and the box office is a little hard to pin down, but it made about 14 million on about a $550,000 budget. So very successful. The thing that makes it, I'd love this movie. I don't think you had ever seen this before, but rewatching it again, it's just so damn funny. Just some of the lines, I just think it's hilarious, and just watching them interact. And obviously, the script was this. So Alan Owen was a Liverpudlian.
Julian. Yeah.
Yes. So he's from Liverpool. So he was able to kind of write kind of in their voices and their slang and everything, and that helped. But then they also were ad-libbing tons of those scenes. And it just comes across that they're just having a good time. It's such a moment in time, like at the height of Beatlemania, and that's part of the film as well. And it was just a phenomenon that had never been seen before that, and we'll probably never see again, honestly, with the death of monoculture. We'll never see anything like Beatlemania. The one thing about it being a musical, so it's on everything list you see, it's always, listed as a musical. The one thing that separates it from most of the others on this list is it's pretty obvious they're not singing. So the musical part of it is really much more like a music video, which also makes sense because I think this movie was actually very influential in how music videos would be made later on. Um, but yeah, I love this movie. It's really funny and clever, and yeah. What did you think?
Yeah, so yeah, as you said, I had never seen this before, and I just thought it was absolutely hilarious. It is so 60s British humor
Yes.
from top to bottom. Yeah, all so many subtleties. Definitely have to turn the subtitles on if you're not a Liverpudlian, because you'll miss half of what they say because sometimes they mumble and sometimes everything's just so quick back and forth. And I watch a lot of British movies and shows, so but still it was like there's a train in the background and they're like kind of just mumbling. But yeah,
No,
man,
actually, we're just good friends. Sorry,
yeah, I think
saying the lines.
one of my favorite lines was, "How did you find America? Oh, you just turned left at Greenland."
Greenland. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, and again, it's not like they're laughing at their own jokes, and like this is you got to think this is pre Monty Python, pre SNL, and it's basically it does have a plot, but it's basically just a series of skits loosely tied together
Yeah.
by this narrative. And I thought Ringo just wandering around, spending so much time on his own, not doing anything. One of my favorite sight gag of the entire thing was when he kept putting his coat down for the girl in
Yeah.
the mud, and then she just falls through the hole at the end.
Apparently, a lot of those scenes of him kind of walking around looking morose were kind of looked like that and were somewhat ad-libbed because he was just really hungover
That
when they
makes
were
total
filming
sense.
that.
Yeah, I could easily watch this 10 times and probably notice something different every time because it is just that kind of movie. But if you go back and look at how groundbreaking it was, and yeah, it sketch comedy wasn't even really a thing. And
No.
they not only did they revolutionize rock and roll, they revolutionized comedy.
Yeah.
And just that's crazy. And just a little side note, the Spice Girls tried to do the same thing in 1999 with Spice World,
Mm.
and not exactly the same result, let's
Not
just
not quite the same.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. One final note on this, because it's going to be, I'm going to have the opposite comment on the next movie we talk about. But somehow the guy who played Paul's grandpa in this movie, the actor was 52 years old. I don't know how that's possible. Like Paul Rudd is 56 today. And he looks like, how is that guy only 52 years old?
He looks
That
he
just
looks
blew my
every
mind when I sort of saw that in the credits. And I was like, what?
he looks every bit of 90. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I'm very glad you recommended this one though, because my film catalog wouldn't be complete without actually watching this, and especially my Beatles fandom.
Mhm.
So next up, we have Grease, another well, first staple of musical movies. It came out in 1978, starring John Travolta and the late Olivia Newton-John in their absolute primes. It's about 50s greaser culture. Danny Zuko is John Travolta, and it's just about his pursuit of Olivia Newton-John, the Australian transfer student Sandy. Uh, Much like the Power Rangers that we talked about a few weeks ago, it stars a bunch of teens in their 30s.
Well, yeah, okay, so this is why I said it's sort of the opposite comment. Like in the last movie, it was a guy who's way younger than you think he is. This is, yeah, this was a little ridiculous. Like Stockard Channing was 34 playing a high school student. Travolta was the youngest of them, and he was 24.
It's full of classic numbers like Grease Lightning, You're the One That I Want, Summer Lovin', and many more. All of them were hits in the late 70s. Uh, it's a total classic, even if the message is severely flawed. Like you have to entirely change who you are to be with the person that you like. But I think if they were actual high schoolers, it'd be more relatable because I think all of us have done that to some degree or another. And it also has the weirdest ending ever. Why do they just fly away in a car at the end? Anyway, I've always been a fan of it. The car chase scene, or I mean, the car race scene, always holds a special place in my heart because one day I was like 8 or 9. My dad saw Grease on TV, came and sat me down. He's like, "Son, you need to watch this." And I was like, "Oh my God, am I in trouble or something?" He's like, "No, this is one of the most important car race scenes in history." And he definitely wasn't a film buff, so, but it's like, okay, well, yeah, go Grease Light, and they're racing in the LA River.
Yeah, for pink slips, of course. Yeah, this is a fun movie despite some of the issues. As you said, I think what the fact that some of the songs that you talked about, you're the one that I want and stuff are still commonly played today speaks to its enduring influence as a musical. There was, going back to 1978, there would have been a lot of 50s nostalgia around that time. Like Happy Days had come out in 74, I think.
American
And
Graffiti.
yeah, and Happy Days was still going on, was a huge TV show at the time. And so I think this just kind of played into that for some reason around that time in the late 70s and mid 70s, everybody was just really interested in 50s nostalgia. Um, your point about yeah, some of the plot and the messages there, so some of it's a little bad in retrospect, like when Olivia Newton-John gets out of his car and he's like, oh, why'd she leave me? Well, maybe because you fucking tried to rape her in your car, dude. Like that's
Yeah.
that's not exactly good.
That's not
And,
cool. That's not cool.
and there's also like the creepy dance off host guy who's like I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but he's like hitting on the high school girls. Anyway, so that stuff's a little sketchy, but yeah, it's still if you can set that stuff aside, it's still a fun movie, and as you said, like, and obviously the dancing's good, the dancing's great, and the songs are enduring. So
Do you have
good
any
one.
theories on what the ending means? Like, did they die at the end, or just fucking we had to have an
I
ending?
don't know. It was just yeah, because also like the beginning is all the opening credits are just this weird like cartoon stuff that doesn't seem to
Hmm.
have anything to do with the rest of the movie either. So
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
if they just like bookended it with something that's just totally different.
yeah. We just need to end this. It's like a crisp 2 hours that we need to just like send off.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have a totally different kind of movie, and that is Sweeney Todd. This is 2007 film directed by Tim Burton. So you already know it's going to be a gothic horror musical. It's based on a 1979 stage musical by Stephen Sondheim that's based on a book. And there's going to be a lot of those in some of these movies we talk about based on, based on, based on. It stars Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman, Timothy Spall, and Sacha Baron Cohen. It yeah, so basically it's set in Victorian England. It's the story of a barber who's coming home after being falsely imprisoned, thinking that his wife is dead, and he's trying to get revenge. And basically, he turns into a serial killer. With a little help from his downstairs neighbor slash landlady slash new lover. Um, it was nominated for 3 Oscars and won one for art direction, of course, because the art direction is pretty typical Tim Burton, but it's, spectacular. And it was a very successful movie, made about 153 million on a $50 million budget. It also, fitting the theme or the tone of the film, it all ends in tragedy. So the music in this, none of it's really very uplifting. It's all kind of sad. But I would also say, I mean, it's a very good musical. The music isn't that memorable to me compared
Ooh,
to some of the
okay.
other ones that we'll talk about. But you may have a different opinion on that.
Yes, yes, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. This is definitely one of my favorite musicals
Mm.
ever. I love the tone. It's the only musical that I've actually seen live more than once.
Oh, wow.
So any iteration, whether it's off Broadway or just in a local theater, if it's done well, I just love Sweeney Todd. I love the movie from top to bottom. I love the humor mixed with the darkness and tragedy.
Mm.
The whole vibe is just kind of right up my alley. And while the whole, you know, Tim Burton vibe is repetitive in his films, it's this one like it has all the right alchemical ingredients because I think it's the best use of Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, and the Helena Bonham Carter trio, which there are quite a few of.
Right.
It tends to cast them in every single movie. I think the numbers are really catchy, especially like "I Feel You, Joanna," and the characters are vivid, and there's an actual plot with a twist, which is lacking in a bunch of musicals. It's just kind of like we get from A to B, and as long as the musical numbers are catchy, then we can just have the guy wind up with the girl at the end.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the most upbeat number is actually the darkest when Helena Bonham Carter is making her meat pies, and then she
Right.
just starts
Yes.
making them out of humans. But there's still that like real darkness to it. So I like the dichotomy there.
Right. Yeah. And plus, yeah, it's has Alan Rickman, and Alan Rickman's just always amazing.
And Sacha Baron Cohen, when he's not doing his usual shtick, is actually a very skilled
Yeah.
performer.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Yeah.
All right, so then we have In the Heights, another massive tone shift. It's a 2021 movie based on the play by, and I always get tongue twisted by his name, Lin-Manuel Miranda, who has a part as the Pedro Agua guy. It stars Anthony Ramos, Corey Hawkins, Leslie Grace, Melissa Barrera, and Jimmy Smits. It follows the plight of a tight knit group of Latinos as they navigate the harsh life in Washington Heights, barrio in Upper Manhattan. It was a box office bomb, unfortunately, but this is one of my absolute favorites. Uh, I'll toss it to you first, though.
Yeah, this is actually the only one on our list today that I had never seen before this week. Somehow this one passed me by. I was certainly aware of it, but I never actually saw the film, and I've also never seen the stage musical. Interestingly, yeah. So this is it's very so having not seen it before, the music and the rhythm of everything is very Hamilton. But
Mm,
of course, he wrote this before Hamilton. And so Hamilton was obviously him kind of taking off from this, but I saw them in reverse order. And actually, the movies would have come out in reverse order, or at least the recording, I think, of yeah, there hasn't been a Hamilton movie, which is why it isn't on our list, but the recording on Disney Plus of the
mm.
Hamilton stage musical, I think, came out before this. But so a lot of people were more familiar with it, but it is very good. The music is fantastic. The some of the dance numbers and musical numbers, I thought, even though it's very kind of modern rap type singing, a lot of those dance numbers harken back to sort of musicals of days gone by. Like there's
Sure.
one really big one set in a public pool, and it's got, kind of those famous overhead shots of people almost synchronized swimming and stuff, and very much the kind of shot you would have seen in a 50s musical or something, that I thought was very interesting. But it's also just a really touching story about community and the importance of community, and also giving back to communities that you come from. And so the story is also really good and really touching. I can see why you like this.
Yeah, I actually like this more than Hamilton, kind of for the reasons you just said. Like, I think Hamilton just overall is, more well put together and precise, and that's kind of when God, I told you it's a tongue twister. That's why Lin-Manuel Miranda kind of honed his skills for that. But I think this is so raw and but still so good. I think Miranda is one of the best lyricists of all time.
Mm.
His rhyming skills outrank the vast majority of hip hop artists. Uh, the cast in the movie has great chemistry. The musical numbers are just crazy catchy, and it's one of the very few musicals that regularly pops up in my Spotify playlist because they're
Oh,
just
okay.
they're just damn good standalone songs.
Right. All right. We're shifting gears once again because now we're going back in time a little bit to 1964 again, and we're going to talk about Mary Poppins. So, this is a live action Disney film based on a book by P.L. Travers. More on her in a moment. And this was actually the very first live action feature for Disney. Obviously they'd had a lot of success with animation, and by this point, Disneyland had opened up, but they were also starting the animation that kind of started to fall off by this point for Disney. And Walt wanted to branch out, and so this was the first live action feature film. It stars Julie Andrews in her feature film debut, which I don't even know how it's possible. That's just amazing.
Yeah,
As well as Dick Van Dyke attempting a god awful Cockney accent.
yeah, not as bad as Don Cheadle from last week,
Okay, okay.
but still, yeah,
But I
still pretty
think Don
bad.
Cheadle's was meant to be comical and bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Dick Van Dyke's was too. And yeah, and then just a bunch of other actors. This was a massive success. You have to like it was the highest grossing film in 1964. Budgets from those days are hard to determine, but it made approximately 100 million on like a $5 million budget, something like that. It was nominated for 13 Oscars and won five, including, for Julie Andrews for Best Actress, again, in her feature film debut. It is interesting to talk about this right after talking about A Hard Day's Night because they both came out in 1964, but they're
Mm.
very different views of England. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, Mary Poppins is supposed to be set kind of in actually
The
it's not even
1910s.
yeah, it's not even Victorian time. It's late Edwardian it's 1910. So it's a different time, but just very different views on England. One thing to note that P.L. Travers, who wrote the book that it's based on, fucking hated the adaptation. She thought it was way too saccharine and thought it was way too much of an Americanized version of England. She didn't even want it to be a musical. She just, yeah, really did not like the Disneyfication of of her work. But, you know, probably nobody would have heard of Mary Poppins today if not for the film. So it's at least made it an enduring part of the culture.
Yeah, she didn't even want any animation in it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, so the special effects were way ahead of its time for 1964. I mean,
Absolutely.
everything from you know flying and riding up the banister to immersive live action animation hybrids, and
Yes.
that was a huge sequence in the film. Um, Dick Van Dyke, who's about to turn 100 in a few weeks, I think. His physical comedy is incredible.
Yeah.
He could really do it all. Uh, and that goes back to the Dick Van Dyke Show and everything he's done before then and up till now. And yeah, what a treasure! And I'm glad he's still around and very lucid and
Mm.
kicking. Um, so I did think it was funny that Mary Poppins obviously has a history with Dick Van Dyke's character, this gutter snipe chimney sweep. It's always the proper ladies that dig a bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks. And not to make this about another movie, but if you go watch Saving Mr. Banks, it puts this movie in a whole new perspective. I know it did for me. I always was fond of this movie, but it becomes so much more emotionally resonant when you see the battle between Walt Disney and the author P.L. Travers, as you said,
Hmm.
over her novel's adaptation, and how while she was resentful in all the ways that you said, the fact that at the end of the day, Mr. Banks was her dad, and her dad was her hero, and he wound up dying of alcoholism, and so the fact that Mr. Banks was actually the hero at the end, and it wasn't Mary Poppins, kind of brought everything together, which is why she approved the final cut because she did have approval of the final cut over a fucking Disney movie, which is which is wild, but yeah, if you watch those two movies as companion pieces, I think it really enhances both movies. So with that, you ready for a drink, bruh?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, I don't want us to get blocked, so I won't sing much more or hum much more. I'm not even going to sing it, even though I
That'd
was
be
just
pretty.
learning it on my guitar before we started
That'd be
recording.
yeah, that'd be pretty bad if we got blocked because of some humming.
Yes. So anyway, so that may be a hint that today we're doing a drink called Edelweiss, which is gonna also give you a hint as to a movie that's coming up later on, but it should have been obvious. Uh, there are actually a few different drinks I saw online with that are called Edelweiss or that have different recipes. So this is just one of the ones that I decided to choose. And it is essentially a basically a take on a martini. So it has gin. So first thing we need is an ounce and a half of gin.
I got this broker's gin, and I thought it was amazing because it has a little bowler hat on top.
Oh, that is so cool. That's very sort of Mary Poppins style in terms of,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. I'm just going with some Tanqueray. Um, so yeah, so an ounce and a half of that. Keep having to pour around my microphone here.
And this is all going into a shaker, correct?
Yes.
Just like
Yeah,
a
definitely into
yeah.
a shaker. Um, and just to warn everybody and maybe warn ourselves for the second half of this podcast, this is probably going to be fairly strong because then it calls for an ounce of dry vermouth. So got the martini dry
Martini and
vermouth here.
Rossi.
And an ounce of honey liqueur, which we both managed to find.
Yeah, that was a quest. I was stoked when I found that. I
So I
was
got one called Krupnik, which I think is from, I'm not sure where mine is from. Um, yeah, I can't
Mine is
read where it's from.
Baronjäger, original 18th century recipe from Germany, and it even has a little beehive on top. So I got some decorative, cute little bottle.
Oh yeah, you did. Look at that. Yeah, I think mine might actually be Polish, maybe. But anyway, so
You
yeah,
said you said it's
honey
a
liqueur.
you said it's an ounce and a half.
No, 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 just an ounce.
Okay, ounce. All right.
And then you need some orange bitters, which
All
luckily I
right.
already had.
Check.
So just a little bottle. There's different kinds. This is the one I've got here. Orange bitters. It doesn't actually say in the recipe how many dashes, but usually with these kinds of things, it's just sort of like say three dashes.
Yeah, you don't want to go overboard or overpowers the entire thing.
Exactly. And then throw in some. Oh yeah, and the one thing I didn't get, but maybe you got, is grapefruit peel that you're supposed to include, yeah, just while you shake it up and then discard it. Apparently, you're not even supposed to have it in the drink. So you put those all in the shaker, you shake it up.
And we're shaking
And
and
it's
we're
gonna make a lot of
shaking.
noise on the mic. Although these mics are pretty good at
Yeah, they are.
cutting out extraneous noise.
Yep.
And strain that into, I think you're doing the same, going with a martini glass because
Yes,
this is
sir.
essentially a martini. Fills a lot of it up. And so here we go. The Edelweiss.
Yeah, I put a little bit of grapefruit garnish on that just for whoop,
Oh.
never mind. It looked good for a second. Okay, that's
Yeah,
nice.
that is pretty nice. That's definitely yeah, it's definitely a gin based martini type thing. Uh,
Honestly,
but
I
it's
was
got it's maybe a little bit of a softer, nicer taste. I guess that would be the honey liqueur that's added in there. That kind of softens it up a little bit. So it's not as uh, kind of stark and harsh as some martinis.
Yeah, honestly, I thought this was going to be one of the worst ones, but this is why we try new ones every week. Yeah, I enjoy that.
Yeah, definitely. I can already tell though it is going to be strong, but yes, yeah, that's quite good and nice and cold when you shake it up in the ice like that and have the gin from the
Absolutely.
freezer.
All right, now, who's ready for some good old-fashioned Hollywood brown face?
That was the first comment I have in my notes about this next movie.
I mean, how could you not if we're living in 2025? Okay, West Side Story. 1961. It's a romance that's a complete ripoff of Romeo and Juliet. But I mean, what story isn't at least derivative of Shakespeare at some point? But this is basically a beat for beat remake. Not remake, just you know. You all right?
Yeah, no, the top just flew off my martini shaker all on its own. I don't know what's going on. We're done with horror movies.
Yeah,
This
I know.
ghost shouldn't be here.
So, West Side Story takes place in the 50s and pits two gangs, the White Jets and the Puerto Rican Sharks, against one another. Stars Natalie Wood and Richard Bamer. It was the highest grossing movie of 1961 and was nominated for 11 Oscars, winning 10. It's crazy.
That is
uh,
crazy.
it ranks number 51 on AFI's top 100 movies of all time and number two in musicals. So basically, a white dude from the Jets falls in love with a Latina from the Sharks, and calamity ensues.
Yeah, okay. So you already mentioned the brown face, and so obviously in 2025, all the brown faces makeup is a bit a bit hard to take. So let's focus on the positives. The music is fantastic. The
Hmm.
music is great. Rita Moreno, who was one of the 10 Oscars for this, and one of her the O and her EGOT, was genuinely really good. I thought she was the best actress of the bunch. And the ending is, obviously it's very Shakespearean, as you say. It's a ripoff of Romeo and Juliet, although in this case only one of them dies. But it's still genuinely touching
Hmm.
and really I quite enjoyed the ending of this movie. The dancing, now this one I think out of all the ones on our list, this is the one for me that verges most towards the kind of musicals that I'm not big on
I kind of
because
figured that when I was
bec-
watching it again. Yeah.
yeah, because like the sort of like dance fighting is just so ridiculous and stuff.
Yeah,
And
like the
just
unnecessary twirls everybody does.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so obviously choreographed and all that kind of. So, obviously there's some stuff about this movie that's great, but probably I'd say of the ones on our list that we're going to talk about, probably my least favorite, even though can recognize that it's, a great important work of art.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I totally see your point there. While I'm more inclined to have a suspension of disbelief, this one just really tests you because it is it's a comedy if you actually watch it with a discerning eye. It and which makes the ending, while tragic, not as hard hitting as it should be, because at the beginning people are like you said, dance fighting, and they're like twirling into their punches. Like everything is so mapped out. Having a 4.5 minute overture would never fly today, uh, especially with nothing even going on.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's just over basically a title screen.
yeah, there was no dialogue until about 12 minutes in. Not even any singing, just no dialogue. Everybody's just like walking and throwing basketballs lazily at one another. It's kind of a hard movie for a modern audience to get
Spray
into.
paint. Yeah, you can see why Spielberg felt the need to try to modernize it when he did a remake a couple of years ago. I'm not sure that entirely worked,
Can
but
you?
you can kind of see why he thought that maybe this would be a good movie if you could just cut out some of the bad
Mm,
60s stuff. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I never saw the remake just out of principle because it was just
Mm.
so pointless.
I
But
did see it, and it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It did kind of smooth over some of the. I mean, obviously no brown face, and it smoothed over some of the those kind of edges a little bit as well.
yeah, I really don't have a lot to say about West Side Story other than it deserves to be where it is just because it was so groundbreaking. And it did dive into race relations, even
Mhm.
though it starred almost all white people. But I mean, it was a step forward, I suppose, and tried to just tell the story of white white people and Puerto Ricans trying to coexist in a world where immigrants were still completely marginalized, and any kind of race mixing was completely frowned upon. So yeah, that's other than that, yeah, it's a fun watch if you have 3 hours to kill while you're like cleaning the house or something, which is what I did.
Yeah, definitely. I
So-
rewatched this one too, and yeah, this was one that I was doing some other things as I watched it for sure.
yeah.
All right, then we get to one of the ones I didn't rewatch, but that's just because I've seen it so many times, and that is The Wizard of Oz. This is a 1939 musical fantasy film based on the 1900 Frank Baum novel. It was directed by Victor Fleming and stars Judy Garland. Now, there's been a lot said about this film, including by us, your friendly unsolicited film reviews hosts back in during our Century series, which you can still find on Spotify. So if you want to hear us go on and on about Wizard of Oz, you can go back and listen to our episode on the movies of the 1930s. Um, but just briefly, it's hard to overestimate what a colossal cultural achievement this film was. It's in terms of Hollywood, it's one of the very first uses, the most important first use of Technicolor,
Mhm.
to, the special effects, to the iconic characters, and of course the songs, Over the Rainbow, Off to See the Wizard, Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, all these songs that still stick with us today, 85 years later. It was nominated for 5 Oscars, winning for Best Original Song, which was, Over the Rainbow, and winning also for Best Score. Interestingly enough, though, it wasn't really a huge hit at the beginning, or at least it didn't make a lot of money on its first run. And it wasn't until 10 years later, when they re released it in 1949, that it actually made its money back and started to become a bit of a hit. And then from then, it just kind of grew in popularity, and became this massive cultural phenomenon. So yeah, Wizard of Oz. It definitely belongs on any list of greatest musicals.
Yeah, and of course, if there wasn't this movie, there would be no Wicked or Wicked for Good,
Exactly.
which I tried to get tickets to see tonight, but it was actually sold out. So I'm sure it's going to
Mm,
do well. And I never try to get tickets to an opening night in Virginia Beach, especially. Like I can see that in Burbank or New York, but
right.
yeah, to have a sold out theater here is wild. So I'll maybe try to see it next week. But anyway, yeah. I mean, what can you say? That
Yeah. Yeah,
I
as I
mean,
said, yeah, people have talked about Wizard of Oz forever.
yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a perfect musical. One of the one of the main facts that I'm sure we talked about when during our Century series is that the producer hated the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" and wanted to cut. And I
That would
guess
have been a mistake.
producers just never change, do they? Like,
Always giving bad notes.
yeah, they always want the best shit cut just for time's sake and for money's sake. But if Somewhere Over the Rainbow wasn't Wizard of Oz, it wouldn't be anywhere near. I mean, Somewhere Over the Rainbow is number one in AFI's 100 movies, 100 songs. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that dude didn't know shit, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really don't have much to say. I mean, everybody knows it, everybody loves it, so
Yeah.
might as well just move on. If you want to get super technical, as Martin said, just listen to our Century series back on Spotify.
Yeah. Where we kind of went on for at least 20 minutes on each movie
Yeah.
with all the history and everything. So go back and listen to that if you want all the details.
Next up, again, total tonal shift, Rocketman. And I kind of love that this one made it so high just because Martin and I both love this movie so much. And I guess it must be one of your favorites because
Yeah.
you rated it so high. And it is one of mine as well. 2019 musical biopic about the life of Elton John stars Taron Egerton in a powerhouse performance as Elton. Also stars Richard Madden, Rob Stock himself, Jamie Bell, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Stephen Graham, among many others. It was a kind of a surprise hit given the genre, making 200 million on a $40 million budget.
Hmm.
Uh, while it's a while it is a musical, and of course there are creative liberties taken, it's very raw and true to Elton's life story, and it's kind of more accurate than a lot of musical biopics that have come out in the past 15 or 20 years. Interestingly, it doesn't gloss over any of the scars or bruises to make him look like a better person than he is.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of the points that I had written down in my notes here. I mean, yeah, let's start with Taron Egerton. It is astounding that he wasn't even nominated for an Oscar when Rami Malek had won the Oscar for his Freddie Mercury portrayal. And look, not to take anything away from Malek, I thought he was very good as Freddie Mercury, but Taron Egerton was maybe even better, and he sang all the songs too, which Malek didn't. Like Taron Egerton somehow sounded like a young Elton John when he was singing, and it's an amazing performance. And yeah, to your point, like this is just an amazingly open and honest biopic, which you don't often, I mean, a lot of times you don't see, you especially rarely see it when the subject about whom the film, the film is about is involved in the making of the film. So all credit to Elton John for saying, you know what? No, this was my life, warts and all. Like he's not always shown in a good light, right? And that goes to making this movie so good. Like I've said this before, but I love the framing mechanism for this
Oh
movie
yeah, yeah,
where
me, yeah, oh
he
yeah.
storms into sort of a therapy session. He's in full Elton John crazy costume, and as the movie goes on, he's literally stripping away parts of his costume as he's stripping away the walls that he's built up amongst in himself as he's trying to get to the bottom of his trauma and his issues and come out the other side. Like it's so brilliant and so seamlessly done. And then as a musical, because that's what we're talking about here, this is the kind of thing that musicals are made for. And yes, there are song and dance numbers, but it totally makes sense. It's putting ourselves in the mind of this young musician, how he saw the world growing up. And all of his great songs from his entire catalog, a lot of them are sprinkled in here in different moments evoking the emotions of those songs in these numbers within the film. It's just yeah, not only is one of my favorite musicals, I think it's one of my favorite movies period of the last 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, just totally agree with everything you said, and especially just relating to like Elton John's influence. Okay, so Timothy Chalamet did the Bob Dylan movie last year. Bob Dylan didn't even talk to him because Bob Dylan's a douchebag, so he wasn't involved at all. But Timothy Chalamet did a great job. It was a great movie.
Mhm.
Counter to that, the Bruce Springsteen biopic came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Uh, uh, Jeremy Allen White
Yeah,
did a pretty good job, but it was a shitty movie, and but it didn't do any. There wasn't any conflict really in it, and
yeah,
Bruce Springsteen was heavily involved in the production of it. So I think Elton John found the perfect medium
yeah.
where he even invited Taron Egerton into his house to stay and learn from him and everything because he didn't have anything to hide. And I think Springsteen's just still of a more of a narcissist that doesn't want anything bad out there about him. But just comparing biopics, I think
Yeah,
just
and the same like you think about there was that Amy Winehouse biopic a couple of years
yeah,
ago. Her family was involved, and
yeah.
it was terrible, frankly, which was really disappointing. We'll have to see how the Michael Jackson one is that's coming up in a couple of weeks. But again, his family is involved. His nephew is the one who's playing him. So I don't know. Like, are they really going to dig into Michael Jackson warts and all? Probably not.
No,
So,
but just
yeah,
yeah, all credit to everybody involved for making just a masterpiece of a movie.
yeah. All right. Now, yeah, we're really into the masterpieces at this point because coming up number three on our list, we've got Cabaret. This is a 1972 Bob Fosse, so jazz hands, everyone. 1972 drama film directed by Bob Fosse. It's based on, okay, here's one of these. It's based on a 1966 stage musical, which was based on a 1951 play, which is based on a 1939 book. Everyone got it? Okay.
Yeah, let's
Uh,
go.
it stars Liza Minnelli, Michael York. For anybody who's an Austin Powers fan, that would be
uh,
Basil Exposition.
of
Um,
British intelligence.
yes, and Joel Grey. It's about people in Berlin in the early 30s who live and work basically around a burlesque show and kind of the drama of their lives, but it's all taking place with the backdrop of the rise of the Nazis in Germany. So it is sad, it's exciting, it's incredibly insightful, and a lot of the music is just this incredible like 20s and 30s jazz, stage jazz kind of music. um this was commercially and critically successful. It made about 42 million on a 4.6 million dollar budget. um excuse me. It was nominated for 10 Oscars and won 8 of them, including for Liza for Best Actress, Joel Grey for Supporting Actor, and Bob Fosse for Director. Keep in mind, this was the same year as The Godfather. So Fosse beat out Coppola, but it lost Best Picture to The Godfather, which fair enough. I will say one final point before I toss it to you. I I said most of the music is jazz. The one exception is for me, especially rewatching again, the most striking moment of all in the entire film. It's a song called Tomorrow Belongs to Me, and they're at this outdoor cafe, and all of a sudden this young man stands up and starts singing. And at first, the way Fosse films it is brilliant because at first you're just focused on his face and his incredible voice, just this beautiful, incredible voice this
Hmm.
man has. And then as he pans out, you see that he's wearing a Nazi uniform, and then other people at the cafe start getting up and singing along, and it's just such a poignant moment about the seductive nature for Germans of what Nazism represented in the early 30s,
Hmm.
and how much of a dangerous movement that can be when something comes to you in a beautiful guise, and it that moment in the film, I remembered it from the first time I watched it, but watching it again, that just knocked me off my feet.
Yeah, this is only the second time I've seen it. I
Same
I
for me.
made I've made my way. I think I've said this before, but I tried to make my way through all of the AFI top 100 during COVID and during the lockdowns. So I never would have even touched this movie otherwise, just because like oh, it's Liza Minnelli and it's a musical. And yeah, I had no idea how deep it was, or what time period it took place in, or how dark it was, or how poignant it was, or any of that. So, yay for COVID. No,
Speaking of dark times, damn.
yeah,
Although, yeah, relatively speaking.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh, Yeah, you totally stole my line about Basil exposition of British intelligence.
sorry.
um, I loved the interplay between the characters. The scene like kind of halfway in where the English lesson turned awkward tea party. It was just a masterpiece in writing because
Mhm.
I think that scene lasted 10-15 minutes and it seemed very play like and but very compelling. Not didn't take you out of it at all.
Yeah, and half the
Um,
characters in that scene are speaking in their second language as well. And yeah,
yeah, so many layers and subtleties and uh I noticed this time that rape is the way to a woman's heart. Eesh.
that part was a little sketchy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and was actually suggested by the woman.
Yeah.
Pounce on her, I believe, was her advice.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, and it's interesting that it's held up as one of the great musicals because it's not really a musical in the sense that like people break out into song. All the
Mhm.
as you said, like all the songs are on stage except for the one with the Nazi youth guy. But so it seems more realistic,
Mm.
especially because all the songs that they do sing on stage, not only are they projected to the audience, but they kind of, in a subtle way, are dealing with the issues that the characters are deling with. So
Yeah.
it all kind of works out where it's you don't have to have that suspension of disbelief that you hate so much. And but yeah, Cabaret is a very worthy movie to people who aren't. Oh, I did find something that I think you might like. There's a 2002 Guardian article that said that Cabaret is a musical for people that hate musicals.
Okay. Hey, no wonder I like it so much.
I'm glad I remember that at the last second because I really wanted to bring that up to
Nice work, Guardian.
you. All right, time for the last two. And it should be pretty obvious by now, but we got Singin' in the Rain. 1952, starring, choreographed, and co-directed by Gene Kelly. Also stars Donald O'Connor and Debbie Reynolds. Uh, for a much more in-depth discussion of this film, see our audio-only podcast in the 50s on the Century series. It's a period piece set in the 20s about the transition from silent films to talkies. It's ranked number one by AFI as the greatest musical of all time, but not by us. um, Hollywood has always loved movies about movies,
True.
and it's always been like a giant circle jerk anytime you come up with a movie that's based on writers or actors, it's always going to get elevated a bit more than it maybe should be. Not to diss Singing in the Rain, but uh it's kind of has a parallel to the jazz singer. But the vaudevillian style is so impressive. The style the style and the skill that it took to dance, sing, play each other's fiddle, no pun intended there, was amazing. Uh God, probably the most versatile, skilled, and zany solo performance ever on film with Singing in the Rain and Gene Kelly just dancing through the studio. Just 10 out of 10 on sheer athleticism. He fucking killed it. Anyway, I'll talk. I have a couple more thoughts, but I'll toss it to you.
Yeah, I love this movie so much. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when we did our Century series, that was the first time I'd seen this movie.
Mm.
And so I rewatched it again this week, and it's made even better upon rewatch. it is just so funny and witty. And as you said, like the performances are amazing. Not only Gene Kelly, who's just a damn athlete, that guy, like just incredible, but also Donald O'Connor, who I guess came from a vaudeville family, and it totally shows.
Yeah.
But he has, he's matching Gene Kelly step for step, but also, he has this one solo number of his own where he's doing these, just like the whole thing is just pratfalls over and over and over again, and it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. But Jean Hagen as Lena Lamont is hilarious. It just in this really annoying voice and everything that
Oh
she does.
yeah.
And then Debbie Reynolds was fantastic as well. And this was one of her early film roles, and she hadn't really danced before this, and so the fact that she picked it up that quick is pretty incredible. Debbie Reynolds, of course, for anybody who doesn't know, Carrie Fisher's mom. So we have her to thank for Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia as well. Also, Rita Moreno's in this again, a young Rita Moreno, where she plays basically a snitch, so not a very likable character. Um, but this is just like it's just a great moment in time story, right? Like
Mhm.
there's these stories that fit a particular moment in time. Obviously, we started with Hard Day's Night, and that was that. And this is the story of this is, highlighting the challenge that a lot of people had adapting to the new realities of talkies in Hollywood in the late 20s, early 30s. So there's a very interesting story to go along with all this, like madcap, amazing singing and dancing performances. And as I said, it's just funny, and yeah, this it's just such an enjoyable watch, this movie.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't imagine how many times they had to rehearse those dance scenes, and
Yeah.
especially because a lot of those were one shots where they
Yes.
were,
Yeah, you can tell that a lot of them are one take. Yeah.
yeah, where there were no cuts, and every musical number had to be done. Yeah, so for those who don't know, like a one shot is where there are no cutaways from the actors, and you have to capture an entire scene in one take. So if there's any fuck up whatsoever, then you have
You got
to,
to do it all over again.
yeah, you have
Yeah.
to reset, set up the camera, set up the lighting, do everything over again. So yeah, yeah, so just such an impressive feat of filmmaking.
Yeah.
And just gotta say that Good Morning, that number always grates on me because when I was in middle and high school, my mom would always bust in singing that,
Oh
and
no! Oh, she ruined it for you. Oh, that's too bad. Because that is a
especially
good song. Oh,
especially
sorry.
especially in high school when we had to wake up at like 6:30 a.m. and she always bust in, good morning, good morning. Like, oh god damn it, time to get up to go to school. So that I guess what they say is triggering. But I mean, no, it's still a good number. I just gotta shout that out.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
All right, so what's our number one?
All right. So our number one, as opposed to AFI, is, of course, as we're drinking Edelweiss, it is The Sound of Music. So this is a 1965 movie directed by Robert Wise, who also directed West Side Story on our list, and later directed Star Trek: The Motion Picture. The guy had an
Oh,
interesting career.
oh yeah.
This was a screenplay by Ernest Lehman based upon, yes, again, based upon a 1959 stage musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein, like the kings of musicals, but which is also based on a book and another book and blah, blah, blah. It stars Julie Andrews, this time not her film debut, Christopher Plummer, Charmaine Carr, a bunch of other people. So, for those of you who don't know the story, where the hell have you been? But I don't need to go over the story of this. It's it's Austria. The Nazis are moving in. This governess goes to take care of children, falls in love with the father of the children, this widower, and yeah, the rest is history, as they say. This obviously became a massive, massive hit by the following year. So it came out in 1965. By the fall of 66, it had be already become the highest grossing movie of all time, taking over from Gone with the Wind. Like that's just pretty incredible. And so to date, again, dollars are different. It's made about 288 million on an $8 million budget. So you can say it's been pretty successful. It won 5 Oscars, including for Best Picture and Best Director, which Robert Wise also won that double for West Side Story. So the dude's got 4 Oscars to his name, which is pretty cool. And the first television broadcast of this, which is how, any of us under the age of whatever 70 know this movie. The first broadcast of this came in 1976, and it instantly became one of the highest, one of the most watched broadcasts ever. And it's just become a staple, especially around Christmas time for some reason. But I think actually maybe there's some good reasons for it. And the music. I mean, the music is just so iconic. The Sound of Music. How do you solve a problem like Maria? My favorite things. Uh, a dear, do re mi. Edelweiss, as we talked about, just a beautiful song, and so long.
Hey.
Yeah, and so long farewell. And so the music is amazing. It's also just a great story. There's a love story. There's a story about family and the importance of family. There's a theme of patriotism. It's also about sticking it to the Nazis. So, that's always good.
Yep.
It's just and it's filled with great performances that actually make it quite funny at times. Like Christopher Plummer plays this very rigid guy, but his reactions to things are always quite funny. And Julie Andrews is a delight, of course, because she's Julie Andrews. It's just an incredible movie. Had to be number one on this list. What do you got, Zach?
Yeah. It's a great wrap up because it's our second Julie Andrews movie and our second Nazi movie.
Yes, that's true. So here's how you make a good musical.
Yeah,
Put
melds
Julie Andrews in it and have Nazis as the bad guys.
just melds everything together. Yeah, this was another one of my COVID movies because it just seemed like such a like on the surface, if you don't know anything about the plot, it just seems so corny. And I had going into it for the first time. This is the second time I've seen it, just like Cabaret.
Oh,
And
so you had
going,
never seen it before COVID?
no, no, no,
Wow. Okay. You're not even as it's playing a million times a day before Christmas. Wow. Okay.
no, no, no.
Fascinating.
Yeah, but everything from 16 going on 17, and I mean,
Mm,
so I knew just about every song before I saw the movie, which
right.
was wild. Like, in elementary school music class, they teach you do, ra, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, just as like a basic music scale, and it was such a kind of surreal experience because I was like, oh, I know this one
Right.
every single time,
Yeah.
except for maybe like 2 or 3 songs. But I was like, I know this movie front to back. I just don't know how it all interconnects and what the plot is here. So yeah, it was wild. And this time I got over that initial like shock factor that I knew all the songs. And yeah, these are a few of my favorite things because
Right.
that's
Yeah.
like a Christmas song now.
That has become a Christmas staple somehow. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, great cast all around. Christopher Plummer famously hated his performance in this, and that showed up in his performance, so it added to it, which makes it even better. he just was
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. It's true.
He
Yeah,
just
because
was
he's
not a fan.
supposed to be kind of standoffish and
And
dislikes everything, but
curmudgeonly, yeah, yeah,
yeah, I don't know why he hated his performance though. I think it's fantastic, but yeah,
yeah. So everybody does because it was perfect, but I
yeah,
guess whatever. But yeah, as you said, patriotism, Austrians standing up to the Nazis, and unfortunately fleeing their ancestral home. And yeah, great message, great song, great music. I mean, what else? What else can you say? It's the
yeah.
sound of
It's got
music.
singing nuns
Yeah,
who
yeah,
are
yeah.
like stealing starters out of Nazis' cars. Like it's great. So many good moments in this movie.
Yeah, so that's our top 10/11 musicals. And we're going to take next week off for Thanksgiving, or at least American Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Not Thanksgiving up here in Canada, but
Yeah, I can't just abandon my family to come up here and talk to you
yeah,
next
fair enough.
week. But yeah, we'll be back here in 2 weeks. And until then, so long.
Farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Goodbye. Toot, 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 toot. Bye, everyone.